I tried to make a reservation, and actually I tried to change a reservation, and I called up American Airlines. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name, but I called up American Airlines, and they first of all they transfer you. I can't find the record. I can't find the record. And then they asked me, like an hour into the conversation, "Oh, did you do this through a travel agent?" And I said, "That's possible." "Oh, well, call your travel agent. Goodbye." They fucking hung up on me after an hour.
Yeah.
And so that's the start of something big, because you call your travel agent, they don't make much money on that shit, so they hang up on you too.
Yeah.
They're like, "Fuck you, I can't spend the time fixing this for you." I mean, it's nuts. And then you got to pay to change, you got to pay to get a seat, then you got to pay again for a seat, because you're just paying for the right to go on the plane.
You should definitely insure your seat that you can't obtain. That way you'll have a perpetual seat.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You talk about travel insurance and all that, but first, after the airline's done fucking you for charging you for everything, when I was in Spain a few months ago, we bought a lot of shit, and we were carrying a lot of bags, and they charged us for everything that I showed them. They're like, "That's $200. Like, what? So I had to buy a suitcase to put all that other shit in, and it was still $200. No matter what you do, their minimum is like $200, and it's so exhausting being with them, dealing with it. You get on the plane.
Well, once they have your ticket sold, you're held captive for all the ancillary services.
Not captive. You're a prisoner.
You're a prisoner.
And you're suffering. I mean, I sat on this plane from Marbella to Barcelona, and I looked like somebody coming, like an illegal immigrant coming in with everything they owned, and it was piled up on my lap. And people are looking at me like, "What the fuck's wrong with this guy?" Well, I'm just, if I can't carry it, then I got to pay for it. If I carry it, I got to pay for it. And I was exhausted. I mean, I was sleeping on all the stuff, like, it's awful. And then, I don't know, getting a rental car in Spain we had to walk like 37 miles with all of our luggage. And I had like 3 carts, and they kept saying that way. And I don't know, we walked easily 5 miles to get the rental car. Then the only good thing was, when we went out one night, we got the rental car, and I parked in a grocery store, which is an indoor parking, because it's not like the States here, and the car got locked in overnight. So I go back to the hotel, I give them the car key, I said, I think the car is over there. You can get it. Call the rental company. I don't care what you do with it. I know one thing. It cost me $1,500 more than what I hate traveling. I mean, like, to go somewhere, it's so much fun and interesting to eat the food and visit the sites. But no matter what, you're getting fucked. You're getting fucked with the money. Nobody's really. There's nobody that could help you if you don't really get the language. And even with the 6 words of Spanish that I can't speak or understand, I get no help. The only thing I know is keep your wallet in your front pocket with your hand over it. That's it. That's the only thing I learned about going to Spain. And that.
Yeah, your front pocket helps from the criminal element, but you still have to contend with the commercial element and the system, which is taking it right off your.
It's almost like they got your credit card number before you even step into place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fucked. And I don't know about tipping in Europe, because we got a problem tipping here now, and I think that's probably because of travelers from other countries. So tipping in this country is fucked up. Tipping in those countries, or not tipping in those countries, is fucked up. And then you get to the airline to travel somewhere, and what you thought was $600 is $1,600 because of all the extra charges. So you get home and you want a vacation from your fucking vacation.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is I've seen you get really angry on some of these travel situations. Can you tell me whether you get more agitated within the United States with traveling debacles or European and what that looks like?
Traveling abroad is hard enough, but it's a different culture, a different visit. There's some really nice aspects of that. Traveling in the States, I mean, you got to have a red hot poker up your ass the whole time. It's awful. The airlines, you have a flight, they change the gate, they change the flight. Everything's always delayed. And I don't care about the FAA because that only makes people more fearful. The FAA doesn't know what they're doing. They could put monkeys in there. They don't give a shit about the people flying. But, once you get on a plane, it's like, I'm on. And then they tell you, I'm sorry, we have to land at a different airport. And they always tell you the best excuses, the weather, or the other flight was late. Does that mean everything has to be late? I don't know about you, Tim, but I try to fly out early every time I fly because I think that's one of the defense mechanisms you have about all this. But, you fly into DFW and they tell you, oh, you're in Terminal D, you got to go to A, you got to go to C, and then they change the gate again, and before you know it, you got to go to E.
Absolutely.
I mean...
And I love your concept of being there early. However, once you get there, you may find out once you get there that you have a 3-hour delay to start off.
That's why they have hotels at the major airports.
Yeah.
I mean, they know right away. And then you get to pay for that too, most of the time. Because arguing with the airline about what they, how they should make good on what's going on, where you want to get to, when you want to get there. And why do you want to just fight? I mean, you're either traveling for business to go see grandma or maybe going to Disney World, but I mean, I don't have any of those, right? That's not in my catalog, so it's brutal now. Airlines that you don't know if they're cutting back, you don't know if the pilot's drunk. I mean, it's a clusterfuck. Traveling around here is potluck. I don't know about you, but to me, it's like I pray before I go, I pray while I'm going, and I pray when I get there that I might be able to get back. It's miserable. So, I mean, and cruises, you go on a fucking cruise, you're going to get neurovirus. I mean, like 80% of the cruises, 80% of the ships are covered with all kinds of bacteria and viruses. And, the salt air obviously doesn't kill any of that. And there you are, captive, 5,000. How many people go on a cruise ship now?
Yeah, many thousand.
Yeah, so 8,000 people in that stale air. Oh my God, being a prisoner. It's like I don't know. It just reminds me of the old slave ships. I hate to say that, but that's what it's like going on a cruise, no matter what you spend.
But keep in mind, you can also get on a much smaller cruise ship, but what that means is you have a very good chance of becoming seasick because they really move and create more atrocities.
Yeah, it's not a day cruise. You're not going out there, for an hour on your friend's 40-footer. You're out there on a, maybe a 200-footer or a 300-footer. It's a small yacht or a big yacht, and, you're right. The ocean is pretty formidable to go sailing around in. And deep sea fishing, fuck that. Breathing in all those diesel fumes, the salt water, the rocking around, the stinky fish, the stinkier bait. Why would anybody want to do that? I just don't get it.
Well, I think most people that I encounter, they catch these wonderful fish, but they all get donated back to the crew.
Well, they got rules too, right? I mean, like you can't catch them if they're this size, that kind of fish, this kind of fish. To me, the only endangered species are people like me that end up on one of those things. That's nuts. I mean, rental cars. How many rental cars have you had good experience with? Majority? Minority? What?
It's always a hassle, a runaround. Do you buy the full tank of gas or do you fill it back up at the last
Yeah,
minute
and you
while
get
you're
to buy,
rushing?
and if you buy it ahead of time, it's only 200% more,
Right.
right? I just don't get it. It's highway robbery wherever you go. I got a bill just yesterday from Hertz because I totaled my car, and I had to rent a car. So I get a bill, and it shows $90-something in tolls, which I don't know how that could be. But there was a $99 convenience charge on that bill. Now, what the fuck is that all about?
Yeah.
I mean, a convenience charge. I'm renting a car. That's a convenience, and now you're gonna. I paid for it already.
Yeah, it should be the anti-convenience charge.
Yeah, I mean, they have the thing in the car, and all you do is drive, and then you're expecting to get a bill for the tolls. That's okay.
Right.
That's part of the deal. You know, it's not their choice to take the toll road. I get it, but what $100 convenience fee? Are they out of their fucking minds? And I got to watch what I say because renting from that company, that's the only one I got left in my portfolio. The others we've already.
You've been permanently barred?
Yeah, we've done battle already, and I've lost or won, however, but oh man, you can't, no matter how hard you try to avoid getting screwed, you still get screwed.
Have you ever been billed for having a scratch or a ding or something after the fact? They all want you to walk around the vehicle and make note, but there's nobody there, there's no form, there's no nothing, but I've known people that get billed for damages that they didn't.
That's a great mystery, Tim, because I've rented cars that were horrible. I've rented cars that were adequate, and like you really don't know how some of these things occur. You go into a parking garage or a parking lot at a grocery. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a common. Like if they tell you no smoking and you burn a hole in their seat, it's obviously your fault.
Yeah.
But a lot of these.
I'm interested in whenever they get you up there at the counter and they start upselling you, when they get to the insurance, do you buy their full plan of insurance minimal, or do you use the credit card that alleges that they'll cover any damages? What do you do, Alan?
Well, I use the credit card, but that, as you say, allegedly minimizes the financial effect on any damage that's done while the car's in your possession.
Yeah.
But the truth is, even if you go to the grocery store and there's a little ding on the car and they choose to say that it's your fault or it happened while the car was in your possession, you're in for a nauseating battle. And as I know personally have experienced, getting disbarred from a number of rental car agencies. Now, and I tell them, if you really want me to damage the car, then just tell me ahead of time. I'll make sure you get it back on a tow truck.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's another one. What else about travel? I checked into a hotel in Los Angeles, and on my profile with Marriott, it says, this gentleman likes extra large towels. Here I am, I arrive in LA 1 o'clock in the morning, get to the hotel, and they got a little fucking hand towel over there I'm supposed to take a shower and be comfortable with. So I called down, housekeeping, could you send up some large towels? And they're like, oh, well, I have to find somebody. Like, you have a hotel with 500 rooms, you got nobody here that could bring up a towel?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just everywhere. So, my recommendation is don't travel unless you have to, and just be ready to be miserable because you're fucked when you start. It's that simple. I don't know. I know you've had some travel things, right?
Oh.
Missed flights, change gates.
Yeah, I'm lucky to make a flight, actually.
I had that one time I was in Arizona, and I had trouble with TSA, and I was really tense, and I bit my lip. And my lip is gushing blood. The TSA guy says, go ahead through. I try to get on the flight, and the gate attendant says, oh, no, sir, you can't go on the flight. Your lip's bleeding. I'm like, yeah, I know. and it won't stop bleeding because I take blood thinners. So, I'm sorry. He said, oh, sir, you can't get on this flight if you're bleeding. Would you like me to call paramedic? I'm like, do whatever you have to do, but I got to get on this flight.
Sure.
5 minutes later, ambulances, fire trucks surround the airplane at the gate. Guys are running down the hall with big, suitcases with medical shit in them. And so there's about 8 guys that come up, and I'm sitting there with a tissue, and they're like, what's the problem? I said, there's no problem. They won't let me on the flight because my lip is bleeding. I take blood thinners. Would you like to go to the hospital? That's what the guy says to me. No, I'd like to get on the fucking plane and go home. So, they're driving me nuts. And one of the paramedics was a nice guy, and he said, look, hold this thing on your lip. I don't know what it was, maybe a special bandage or something. Hold this on your lip for a couple of minutes and then walk up to the gate, get on the plane. So it was kind of like a styptic pencil, when you cut yourself shaving.
Right.
It must have been something like that he put on my lip. I get on the plane takes off, and of course my lip is now gushing blood again. But I'm on the plane at least, and I'm flying back to Dallas. And I was so embarrassed and I was so mortified that they used all these fucking resources, just because a guy had a bloody lip. And there's nothing good about traveling, nothing. You should see, there was another time when I was traveling, I had just had my elbow and my bicep tendon repaired. So I got my elbow in a brace, I got my foot in a boot. My kid is like 85 yards ahead of me running through the airport, and I'm clip-clopping along, trying to get on my plane. And the lady says to me at the gate, oh, you're so lucky, sir. We were about to close the door. I said, yeah, but my 12-year-old's on the plane already. She said, well, I'm sorry, you can't. If the door gets closed, you can't get on. That's why I talk to you. No, stay home. Home is the comfort zone. Only travel when you have to. So.
And maybe that's the design. It's so stressful to get prepared to go on it, and then every event on it, when you get home, you therapeutically feel better about being home, even though you took the trip to get away from home.
So that leads me to another topic. Should you go with your family? What do you think, Tim? Aren't you going away with your family soon?
Yeah, we're gonna be headed out here within the month.
Well, let me know how it goes when you get back.
Yeah, I'll be glad to give you an update.
If you all come back on the same plane.
Yeah. It'll be a real blessing. It'll be a real blessing.
Yeah.
And I'll update you because it'll be a hard trip, I'm sure.
Well, no trip is easy, that I could tell you. Especially living out of suitcases. And that Spain trip, my 15-year-old, we went out to dinner one night. He had something that didn't agree with him, and he ended up barfing in my suitcase. So I'm like, that one's going in. That one's going under the plane. Oh my God. Yeah, we had a good time, but traveling is just so difficult. It takes so much out of you, right?
Oh yeah.
So. And then what other things are associated with travel? The incorrect credit card charges.
Yeah,
right?
conversion rate fees.
Yeah, and of course you got to be an actuary to figure all this shit out. And that's no fun. You always spend more than you think you're gonna, or you want to, budget. So I just don't see it as a win. Other than going somewhere different and maybe having some different food or going to a museum that you've never seen in your life.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not what I want to do, certainly not at my age, and certainly not with an entourage, because it's no fucking fun at all.
It's very difficult to satisfy everybody, isn't it?
You're going to find out, oh, we want to go there. No, I want to go here. All right, you go there, I'll go here. We'll meet later. And of course, you don't meet later because somebody got lost.
Can't find them.
Or they wanted to do something else. And they wanted to eat Chinese food in Paris, and you wanted to eat crepe Suzette, and it's just a no fucking win. I don't know. That's not for me. So, what else can we talk about? I mean, what else really gets your goat today? The travel thing has got me so burned up. I can't even think about. I'm supposed to go away in July, and just talking about it's making me sick.
You know, I enrolled in the pre-TSA thing since I'm always running late anyway, and figured that would give me a fast entrance, and save me from missing some flights. And the other day I was coming back, and what they had is one humongous long line, and I was feeling good that I'm TSA pre. But then I noticed that's everybody in line. So you stand behind 100 people, and then they give you a card that says pre-TSA, which just simply means you go to this one conveyor belt X-ray machine as opposed to the ones with other people. It doesn't save you any time.
No. The only thing you get with that little card is you don't have to take your shoes off, right?
Well, I did not have to take my shoes off. I asked about my watch, my wallet, and they said, well, our machine's a little sensitive. Maybe you should remove all that.
I'll tell you one thing. I think it's best that people go to the airport with no shoes.
Yeah.
Right? Pack your fucking shoes and just walk into them. Because it's the stupidest rule. If they have all these X-ray machines and sniffing things and all these levels of security, to me, if you're wearing your shoes, it doesn't change much.
Yeah, probably doesn't matter because they're getting naked X-ray visions of you anyway. Nobody's looking at your
I've
shoes.
been there too, with the pat down.
Yeah.
Some guys call it the rub down. That's not my style.
I remember I came out randomly and they'd have that little picture of a human body and it would tell you where to randomly search. And it's just a silhouette.
Where to randomly search, right?
Yeah, so it had the little arrow right in my midsection. So I turned around and bent over. And the look on the guy's face. I said, sorry, the front.
Yeah.
Would you like to do this in private, or would you like to do it out
By
here?
the way, sometimes they tap you with the front of their hands, and sometimes they tap you with the back, like it's a big difference.
Yeah.
They're at your genitals, that face it. They want to touch something to prove that they did their job.
But one good thing, no matter how hard the trip is to prepare and endure and pay, when you do return, you do feel better.
Yeah, one other thing I want to add to that. You know how they tell you no backpacks or purses when you're going into the plane or the event? Could you imagine if people just say, fuck all of this, I'm just going to go no shoes and I'm going to put on a clear suit. They can see right through everything. And then there's no need for the pat down, the shake down, the rub down.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought, Alan.
Oh my God, yeah. A lot less people flying. You won't need TSA pre. Right? And you won't need clear, because it's perfectly clear you don't want to be traveling.
I might take up kayaking.
I couldn't even get on a paddleboard.
Thank you much for your summary of vacations, family vacations, and all the beauty of it, Alan.
I want you to enjoy yourself, Tim, but it's got to be realistic. Something's going to happen to make it suck. And you're going to have to find humor in that, right? That's impossible for me. I mean, finding humor in something that's miserable, but what the hell? You're going to go. I know you'll have a good time and enjoy yourself.
I'll give you some feedback when I get back.
Yeah, you do that.
I'm looking forward to getting back already.
And and take plenty of pictures because you'll need the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better you than me.
Well, thanks, Angry Alan.